Well, hello, free people of the Rocky Mountain region. My name is Brandon, and this is Free State Colorado. The mission of Free State Colorado is to promote a culture of liberty, freedom of the individual, and a free market. Today, I'm talking with Laura Cutunilli, the leader of the 2020 Recall Polis campaign. The website is dethronepolis.com. There's also a very active Facebook group that I'm happy to be a part of called Recall Polis 2020. Lori, I hope you are well, and thank you very much for joining me today.
Hi, Brandon. Thanks for inviting me. I'm excited to be here with you.
Well, great. I'm excited to talk to you. I think we have a lot in common and a lot of fun things to talk about and a lot of information to spread to people about the recall that's currently happening here in our state. So, Lori,
Yes.
I want to start off with one of the most asked questions I see on the Recall Facebook group. And how is the progress going so far? How is the signature gathering going? Can you give us any idea of where you're at?
Yes, it'll be 3 weeks Tuesday, next Tuesday, that we've had the petitions. And we are almost at the halfway mark of the goal of 1 million. We have petitions around the entire state. We are still filling in some areas within counties, but they are in every county. And we have big events. We were lucky to hit the Trump rallies and Lincoln Day dinners and some other events that bring large groups of people, like-minded people together. So we are making great progress. We would like to have all these signed petitions finished, completed, back to us by November 2nd. Although we do have until November 13th to have them into the state, we do need to verify the signatures, make sure we have the right numbers to be able to turn them in, and have them organized and packaged to be able to deliver. So we can push a little bit into the first week of November, but we really don't want to push up against that deadline.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense. I know there's always some issue with signature verification and kind of, they call it curing in this situation, I'm not sure, but making sure everything is valid, because that can be a big reason why the recall wouldn't succeed. Am I correct?
Yes. What we are doing is we are having circulators check and verify voter registration. We have the signer check and verify their own voter registration so that what they put on the petition matches how they are registered with the state. If the state finds a discrepancy in what they put down compared to their records, they will be disqualified.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, Lori, I talk to people every day, and a lot of people don't seem to be aware of why there's a recall going on. Can you maybe talk a little bit about that? I do have the official recall statement here that I can read, but kind of in your own words, what are some of the key points of why Jared Polis needs to be out of office?
One of the really big points is he has abused his powers, specifically his emergency powers, by keeping us in a never-ending, ongoing state of emergency when our numbers in Colorado for hospitalizations and deaths are near zero. Now he's touting all the positives, but that is not hospitalizations, that's not ICUs, and that's not death. So by keeping us in a never-ending state of emergency, he has complete and total control to make orders and mandates with no input from anyone else in his legislature. Wow. Which is exactly what he's doing.
It's extremely frightening, and the most shocking thing to me is how willing people seem to be going along with all of these executive orders. I mean, it's becoming a police state, a tyranny, if you will, with what's happening with our government here. And I'm so happy, Lori. Thank you very much. The first thing I want to say, thank you for doing what you're doing. Thank you for organizing this and making this happen, because the people need to speak up and they need a voice. And as you've seen, there are lots of people out there who are looking for that voice, who want to speak up and don't know what to do about it. Well, what do I do with these lockdowns? How can I fight back? How can I be a part of something to restore our freedom and restore our great state, the culture that we love? So thank you very much for that.
Thank you. And we are finding that people that are signing and collecting signatures are very happy and excited and empowered to be able to be taking action to put a stop to this, rather than just being unhappy and victimized.
Right. There's an actual avenue, and I hope people watching this see that there's an actual avenue. We have an ability to fight back and stand up for our rights and stand up for our freedom and say, no, this is wrong. This is going too far. Especially as we're seeing so many other states end all of their stay-at-home executive orders, lockdown orders, what have you. Colorado's kind of lagging behind that, and it's all on Governor Polis and his edicts that are just terrible.
Exactly. And mandates and executive orders are not laws. The mask mandate is not a law. It is illegal and unconstitutional, which he admitted on a radio interview. So instead, he's forcing businesses to enforce his illegal, unconstitutional mask mandate by threatening their licenses and fining them. So there is a national or a federal lawsuit against him right now on behalf of businesses.
Oh, that's great. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, because, I talk to so many business owners who are afraid. They're very just afraid. They're afraid of getting fined. They're afraid of getting shut down. And as much as they disagree with the mask mandate or any of the other executive orders, they want their employees back. They want business as usual. But they're too afraid to do anything about it. So it's really exciting. And it's really exciting for me to see some of these business owners be involved with the recall. And for anybody listening here, if you go to the Dethrone Polis website, dethronepolis.com, and you can see the locations to sign. And there are some permanent signing locations, it seems, for some businesses that are willing to stand up for our rights.
There are many of them are gun shops and shooting ranges because of the red flag laws. They are not fans of Polis, but we do have some ongoing locations. On the website, it's broken down by location and county, so people can find where to sign. You can also volunteer through the website, and we will connect you with the county coordinator for their area so that they can get involved. The more people we have out with petitions, the faster we can get this done.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, I signed the petition last Sunday, took my brother along, and signed it at 5280 Armory in Arvada. So it was really awesome to see this local gun business, which is great on freedom issues, to stand up and support the recall. So definitely anybody in Arvada, 5280 Armory is a great place to get your ammo and support freedom. So Lori, I'll read real quick the 4 points on your official recall statement, grounds against Governor Polis, just so people who aren't aware of everything that's happened can kind of be filled in on the details. Does that sound good?
Yes, that's perfect.
All right, so number 1, whereas Governor Polis has abused his emergency power by exceeding the scope of his powers under Colorado's Disaster Emergency Act by issuing a disaster declaration through executive order as a vehicle to legitimize confining residents to their homes, forbidding travel, closing businesses, and mandating wearing of masks, thereby depriving citizens of liberty and property without due process of law. Wow, that's a powerful statement. You kind of sum most of it up right there. I mean, back in April, it was so frightening to think that the government could do this, that they could shut us down, that they could, confine where we can travel. We became like a prison society more than anything.
Exactly.
So number 2, whereas Governor Polis overstepped his powers and infringed upon the role of the legislative branch when he spent the entirety of $1.6 billion in CARES Act funds without consulting the legislative branch of the Colorado government. And Lori, we talked about this a little bit before the interview, but that's not the role of the governor to spend this kind of money. It's the state legislature is supposed to be creating the budget for the society, for our state.
Yes, that money was intended to go through the budgetary process and help our state balance and function to start recovering from the lockdown and the closing of businesses during the initial emergency time of emergency status. And instead, he decided that it would go to schools, which are basically not functional very well at this point.
Yeah, well, it's not too surprising, Jared Polis being on the Board of Education at one point in his career, and I'm sure all his little crony friends in the education community got their share of money there.
I'm sure.
Number 3, whereas Governor Polis issued unconstitutional executive order D 2020065, intending to suspend certain statutes that required signature collection to be conducted in person and create temporary rules to allow signatures gathered via email or by mail in violation of Article 5, Section 1(6) of the Colorado Constitution.
Now, the Supreme Court already ruled on that, the Colorado Supreme Court. However, we decided to leave it in as proof that he is willingly violating our constitutional rights and taking it to the point where the Colorado Supreme Court had to enforce it for us.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, at least the courts are helping restrain some of his ability, even though the legislator has completely failed to restrain his orders. At least the courts are doing something. That's positive where you can be, I guess. Yeah. Number 4, whereas Governor Polis explicitly discriminated against houses of worship by issuing Executive Order D-2020-017 and directing houses of worship to close their doors while allowing necessary locations such as marijuana shops to remain open under his stay-at-home order, thereby interfering with the free exercise of religion in violation of Article 1 of the United States Constitution.
Clear violation of the United States Constitution to close churches and houses of worship and continue to restrict them.
It's just an outrageous affront to religious liberty, to the values of our founding fathers and the Constitution. I mean, the Constitution isn't suspended just because there's an illness in society. You know, people still have the right to worship, to gather, to assemble. So I really think your 4 points are very clear and precise in terms of some of the violations that the governor has done. And yeah, I hope more people realize that there's an opportunity here to kind of fight back and push back against this.
Yes, and those are legal charges. They were prepared by an attorney. If we need to defend them at any point during this recall, we can do that legally and possibly charge him with those separately after the recall.
Oh, wow. Well, that's pretty exciting. Very cool.
We will see where this leads, but those are legal charges.
Wow. Good to know, Lori. And Lori, maybe we can tell us a little bit about how you got involved, how you decided to start organizing this recall effort, and what kind of prompted you or motivated you to do this?
Well, I was aware of the failed effort last year. I was not involved, but I was aware of it. And so in May, when the emergency order was continuing, and they were planning for the requirements for children to go back to school or not go back to school and do online learning in the fall, I knew that they had long-term plans for this, that Polis had long-term plans to keep us in the emergency status and take it into the schools. So I heard they were going to mask the kids. They were talking about the vaccines, the forced vaccines. And I have grandkids now in school, and I just couldn't see letting that happen. So I decided to reach out to all the other recall groups that had been active before last year and asked them if they wanted to rejoin and do this again. And they all said no, they were not interested. So I started a new group on Facebook to gather like-minded people, and we grew up to about 17,000 people, I think, when we decided to start taking the steps of going forward. We had a paralegal draft the charges, and we began the search for the right attorney to legalize those so that we could go into the petition process.
Wonderful, yeah, and it looks like the 17,000, checking today, Facebook group's up to over 26,000 members, which is pretty incredible.
It is. We had a large surge of membership when he canceled the National Stock Show because it affected so many people, exhibitors, visitors, revenue for our state that is struggling so badly with all these shutdowns, and the businesses that have gone out of business and are still functioning at partial capacity. And then, of course, once word of the petitions got out, that we actually had petitions and we're moving forward with gathering signatures, it's just continued to grow.
Well, that's exciting. Yeah, the feedback you've been getting through the signature gatherers or the other people involved, has it been mostly positive? I mean, does it seem like there's this pent up, motivational energy or pent up frustration among people? Have you been seeing a lot of that?
Yes, everyone is excited and happy, and they're feeling empowered to actually do something to fight back against this. A lot of people wanted to do something but didn't know what to do. And now we have the tool that we can go forward and remove him, recall him, and reclaim our state. So there is a a statewide party going on, basically, that is uniting us probably in a way that's never happened before, at least not for decades. So we are all coming together, which gives us great power as a state, as citizens of our state, and everyone is really excited and energized by that.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, now more than ever, it's great to hear that people are getting excited about something. They're coming together to reclaim the state of Colorado and reclaim our freedom that's been violated. That's awesome, Lori. Now, has there been opposition? Have you seen or heard from some of the signature gathering tables or the volunteers? Has there been any negative feedback from people in the community?
Not much. Some people don't agree, and that's fine. We're not there to convince anyone of what needs to be done. If they're on the opposite side, we respect that. We don't agree with them. We think this is unacceptable, what's happening. There has been a website, a Recall website, unauthorized, collecting donations. So we're in the process of addressing that. There has been some false advertising of locations by opposition groups. So there's a little, but it's nothing we can't overcome. They can't stop us. They can detract, a little bit here and there, but we get everyone right back on track. So
well, that's exciting.
They can't stop us. They can't stop this momentum. This is happening, and we're going to take it through and remove him from office.
Oh, that's awesome. Very exciting. Well, we definitely wish you all the best, and I hope to do my part to help make that happen. Lori, can you walk us through the recall process? So say right now you're out gathering petitions. You gave the timeline, you want to be done by November 2nd to have 1 million signatures in support of the recall election. And then what kind of happens after that? You said the signatures and the petitions are looked at, made sure they look good, and then are turned into the Secretary of State. And then where does it go from there?
Well, we're required to get approximately, this is rounded up, 632,000 signatures, which is 1/4 of the vote that was cast in the governor's election in 2018, where he was elected. So we have to have a minimum of 632,000 acceptable verified signatures. So we have built in up to 1 million to allow for disqualifications by the Secretary of State, who is well known for disqualifying as many signatures as possible. So that's our goal, is 1 million. So we have the time frame I said. We want to have them all back in by November 2nd. We can push a little bit longer. I know there's some big events scheduled for Halloween. There's a huge Trump rally on November 1st. So we can push a little bit longer, to be able to get those signatures in. Once they're in, we verify we have enough from what we can tell. We submit them to the Secretary of State. And then once they are accepted, there is a protest period where someone can have them recounted to make sure that they are the required amount. Then a special election is set, not sooner than 30 days and not later than 60 days. So it calls a special election because he's not due for re-election until 2022. At the special election, the ballot will be two-part. The first part is, should Jared Polis be recalled? Second part is, who will replace him? Right now, there may be more, but I'm aware of 2 candidates that are registered to run in 2022 that will run in the special election, which is Lori Clark, which would be our first woman governor if that happens, and Greg Lopez. So, and there may be more. We're expecting more once the signatures are actually accepted. We think there's people just waiting to see. They don't want to declare until they know there actually is an election scheduled. So it'll be very interesting and exciting to see who else decides to join the race.
Oh, definitely. That's very interesting. I wasn't aware of that. So there'll be 2 elections. One to basically, should Polis be recalled, would be the first one. And then if that passes, if enough voters say, yes, he should be recalled, then there's another election to who's going to replace him. So that'll be very interesting to see how that.
Same election, same ballot.
Okay, so it's the same ballot. It's one ballot with those 2, or more. I guess more than 2 questions if there's more than 2 candidates, but 2 pieces to it, I suppose.
Yes.
Recalled, and then you pick your candidate. Oh, very interesting. Because that's some of the feedback I've gotten when I talk to some people about this. They say, well, Is Polis just gonna be replaced with somebody just as bad as him, just another little petty tyrant, another loser like Polis? And so it's good to know that there is an actual opportunity. Some people might have thought it's going to go to the lieutenant governor or somebody else that's already elected, but there's actually a new election. So that's very good information.
Well, if he were to resign, they would be able to keep the seat and appoint someone. But he is not going to resign, he has said. He thinks he can beat us at the ballot. So we believe that he will not. He has violated nearly everybody's rights at this point and continues to do so almost on a daily basis. So if he hasn't upset someone yet, it's coming.
Oh, definitely.
So yeah, we will have enough voters to outvote his supporters.
That's great. Yeah, I'm very encouraged by it. I mean, everybody who's a business owner, who goes to church, who just enjoys, living their life, going to concerts, going to movies, going to restaurants. I mean, if you're an employee or an employer in the state of Colorado, your rights have been violated by the governor's orders. So it is encouraging. I mean, now more than ever. And I can see, I heard some criticism a year ago over that recall because Polis had just taken office, and they said, well, what has he done yet? What has he done to warrant this recall? What's your problem with him? He hasn't done much. He just got in there. So now, a year later, we've seen what he's done. We've seen what he's allowed to what's allowed to happen here. And so there's real legitimate reasons to definitely recall him. So anybody out there who didn't support the recall in 2019 because of those reasons, I mean, recall in 2020, there's a million more reasons, or 5 million reasons to support the recall this time.
There are, and that is a good point. People that signed last year, those petitions are invalid. They were never turned in. They do not count. You can sign again this year and should sign again this year. Signing last year has nothing to do with it. So everyone should sign again, even if they signed last year.
That's a great point. Yeah, a lot of people are not aware that they have to sign a second time if they signed the first time.
Right, and also there are sites purporting that you can sign online. That is only data gathering. No, there are no petitions valid online. And even when Polis tried to get our third charge, tried to make it legal to sign online by email, that was struck down by the Colorado Supreme Court. So you cannot sign this petition online, strictly in person. So if you signed online, all you did was give them their information about you.
That's a very good point. Very good point. Yeah, you see a lot of petitions, especially this time of year, asking for some sort of political activism or to vote a certain way with the upcoming election here coming in November. So that's a very good point. That if you sign something online, it's not an official recall petition. You have to actually sign the one in person. And we've all seen these types of petitions, over the last few months. If you go to King Soopers or Safeway or any of the grocery stores, of people trying to get different issues on the ballot. So that's what you need to look for if you're looking to sign this, is that same kind of paper petition that they use for citizen-driven initiatives that we're seeing this year. So, Lori, are you still looking for volunteers in specific counties or specific areas of the state?
Absolutely. Every county, every area of the state. The more people we have with a petition, which is 80 signatures, the faster we will get this done. So we will be looking for volunteers the next few weeks. Petition on the Go is a petition you can take to family, friends, neighbors, church. You don't have to be at a table. You don't have to be at a location. You can take it with you everywhere you go, and have people that that are supportive sign it. You can group together with other volunteers for events, or you can find your own location, such as the 5280 Armory. So there's lots of options of how to get involved and how to get signatures. But the more people involved, the faster it will go. And if we could get it in even sooner, that would be even better, because that makes the special election even sooner.
Yeah.
So the sooner we get it done, the better. Definitely,
100%. The faster we can end these orders, the faster we can restore freedom and sanity to our state, the better off we'll all be.
Yes, and we're not going to hit the November ballot. I don't believe. It would be a miracle if we hit that because of the timing. If we were verified in time, there is a section that says we could be on the first election that comes next, but I think we're going to be way too close to be able to do that. So if they pushed it out, they could push it out into December. And even if it's winter, it's really, really, really important that everyone gets out and votes, because that is the final step to remove him and replace him with the governor that has our best interests at heart and will restore our rights and reopen our businesses and our schools the way everything's meant to be.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, that's very exciting, Lori. And tell us again, what is the website, the only official website for the 2020 recall?
www.dethronepolis.com.
Dethronepolis.com. Perfect. Well,
there are still groups out there with recall in their name. We are the only legitimate active recall group. And on Facebook, we are Recall Polis 2020.
Yeah, that's a very good point, because, you know, some of these activists last year who created these Facebook groups or websites, and they just let them be without taking them down. They're still out there. So very good to be aware of that. The only official Facebook group is Recall Polis 2020. The only official website is dethronepolis.com. So if you're being directed somewhere else, that person could be just ignorant or mistaken, or they could be trying to subvert the process. So very important to know.
And if you're being asked for a donation online, that is not us. We are not asking for donations.
Oh, it's pretty incredible. Yeah, it's just a group of citizens coming together to restore the freedom of our state. You know, Colorado has a history of recalling some of our state legislators and, you know, holding our politicians accountable. So let's hope this can continue into 2020 in the future and, you know, preserve our freedom.
Absolutely. We intend to go forth after we get Polis recalled. And there's a lot to be done for Colorado. So we intend to be active even after we recall Polis.
Oh, wonderful. Well, good to hear. Yeah, the more of us that can get involved in holding our politicians accountable and restoring some of our freedoms, the better off we'll be.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you very much for your time today, Lori. Is there anything else you want to talk about today?
I would just say, please go to the website, find a signing location, volunteer for a petition, help us get this done. Let's take back Colorado and our lives.
Well, wonderful, Lori. Well, thank you very much for your time, and I hope to talk to you again soon. Wish you all the best, and thank you again.
Thank you, Brandon.